today my video is about how you can create a healing garden. I feel like everybody needs to have a healing garden that we can go to anytime that we feel that maybe we're getting sick, or maybe you actually have a serious illness or disease that you need to overcome, or whenever we feel like out of balance or out of grace. And this is the perfect time to go to your healing garden and to meditate, to create intentions for well being, for vibrancy, for health, for vitality, or for whatever it is that you feel like you're missing in life. I feel like colors and the colors that we choose to weave into our healing garden are really important as well, because every color has a frequency. And whenever we are off kilter, or we're not experiencing, really good health, we want to be very particular about the frequencies that we expose ourselves to, and get really dialed in on bringing in color frequencies that are superior for healing. So there are 6 colors that are geared towards healing. The 6 colors are the emerald green. The emerald green is a color that vibrates to health and vitality. Citrus green is also a healing color, and ivory white helps us to vibrate to the color of transparency. And when we are transparent, it helps us to sort of get to the truth of the matter about how we might have gotten into a state of disease. And that is super important in being able to recover from it. Pure white, just the plain white, not ivory white, white is a color frequency that vibrates to purity. That's why a lot of times we see the angels and the saints and other spiritual masters that they wear the color white. Another color that is very healing and very therapeutic is violet. The color of violet is a frequency that helps us to be in a space where we can forgive people that might have hurt us, or disappointed us, or wounded us in any way. So forgiveness is a super important tool in our healing paradigm. Sometimes we even have to forgive ourselves, where we might have made choices that weren't stellar, that have contributed to our health problem right now. Another color that is particularly helpful in a healing paradigm is the color lilac, and that helps you to release whatever it is that's not working for you. Rather, it is a belief system, it is maybe something that you like to eat that is not healthy for you, that's keeping you from being able to obtain the best health. Or rather, you need to release attachments to maybe relationships, or just ways of living, thinking, and doing that are not supporting your health. So those are the 6 colors that are particularly powerful to bring into a healing garden space. Whether you use it in your plants, or maybe your art, or the seating arrangements, or other decorations. The elements that are super important to bring into a healing, a meditation garden are, think about the main elements of earth, air, fire, and water, but also add the Holy Spirit. So when we know that we are going into a space that is balanced with the elements, our unconscious mind really engages, and it has like a sigh of relief of knowing that we have access to everything that we need in order to overcome our healing curve right now. So we want to have an earth element that might be a crystal, or a some stones or rocks. The earth element is always present in a garden because we're sitting on the earth, but there are some times where we want to bring in maybe some crystals or other like rocks, boulders, and stones that help us to kind of drive home that earthy element, especially if you're a person that has a hard time grounding your energies. The other elements that are good to bring in to a healing garden, I feel like you always need some water element, like a koi pond or a little fountain that has just like a little bubbling fountain where you can hear that water kind of tinkling over some rocks. That is a super healing element all by itself. Just to watch fish in a koi pond, or even just little frogs swimming around, or just having like water flowers on a water garden are really soothing. Water is such a powerful healing element. There is celestial wisdom that is encoded in water when it is in its pure source. So we can interact with the water element and just create the intention that the water, that it activate your own codes for healing and for vibrancy. And sometimes you can bring that in your meditation, just imagining water running through your physical, mental, emotional bodies and just activating your own celestial memories, your own codes and codices for healing. I feel like we all have that is encoded in our memory bodies, but sometimes we forget that. And another thing is a lot of times our ancient wisdom and ancient healing practices have been just beat out of us. And for one reason or another, most of the times it's for control. But even in our current day allopathic medical community, a lot of people just, they really poo poo the idea of natural healing. And it's like it's our way or the highway. And I think that it's super important that all of us know that for us to truly stand sovereign and to do the work that we came here to do and really be on target for our soul's highest mission, that we need to take back our power and take back our soul pieces to anyone that we gave away our power to, or that we gave away parts of our soul. And that includes our healing paradigm. So standing sovereign means being responsible. It means taking care of ourselves the best way that we can, the most natural way, and activating our highest gifts and skills and using our tools and our own resources. Water is such a powerful element of healing. You want to make sure that somehow you bring a body of water into your healing meditation garden, even if it's just a small, like a tabletop fountain or a table pool of water. That, but you always want to think about balance as best that you can when you're putting together a meditation garden, because our unconscious mind is so hardwired into balance that it recognizes when we have too much water and no fire element and not enough air element or whatever. It's like it knows, and it doesn't respond in the way that we want it to. We don't get the benefits the best way that we can. One way that you can bring in the fire element is to have like some sort of maybe a fire feature, like a fire pit, or even some candles, or sometimes you see the little tiki torches in a garden. but a candle is a great way to bring in the fire element. But just try to think about balance. So if you have a koi pond that's like a 6 foot diameter, you want to have a pretty good size element of fire, like a fire pit. And if you can't have a fire pit, maybe several candles. That just think about balance. Like if you're sitting in the middle of your healing garden space and you look around you and you have the earth at your back, so that's like your back is protected. In the feng shui philosophy, we always want to position ourselves in life, in any of our the arenas of life, like our office space, our meditation space, our bedroom, our living room. We always want to have our back protected because our unconscious mind is it's very primordial. It's very smart, but it's very primordial, and it wants us to know that our back is protected. And that means that we have privacy. So when we go into a healing garden, privacy is a big factor. We want to feel like we can go there and not people are not listening to our meditation or to our prayers or to whatever it is that we're doing. So we want to have a little bit of an enclosed space. Rather you use furniture or screens or shrubs or small trees or plants. We want somehow to create privacy. A lot of the tea gardens, I think, in Japan and in Asia, that they're set up in a way that it's a perfect little meditation healing type space where we can see in front of us the water, we can see the element of fire, we have the air all around us, so it's represented through space. And we want to feel like we have the mountain to our back so that we're buffered and protected from any windstorms or people sneaking up on us. So situating ourselves with the elements is a great way to set up your meditation healing garden for success. Other things that you can bring into your healing garden, you can bring in the element of fragrance. I feel like fragrance is a undervalued healing tool. You can use that through the plants that you bring in. My favorite plants to have in a healing space, my number one favorite are roses. I love fragrant roses. I like lilacs. The irises are so fragrant, so amazing. Carolina jasmine. There's a lot of different flowers that have just a beautiful fragrance, and bring those in. And that is very primitive, very primordial. And sometimes those fragrances can remind us of maybe our original starseed system, that our higher self that we projected ourselves from in order to have this earth experience. I feel like all of us have an origin star seed, and sometimes we have a few different star systems that that we originated from, and we have a lot of experience there. And quite often that experience is far deeper and far more advanced than what we have access here to on planet Earth. And so by aligning with your original star system, sometimes you can tap into just different elements that will support your healing curve. Your horoscope, your birth chart can give you clues about what that might be. If you have questions, send me an email, and we can put together maybe some clues to what your origins are. But I feel like that's super important. Other elements to bring into a healing space, I think, are sounds. I think that can be very healing, very therapeutic. Maybe some chimes, like wind chimes. One of my favorite are fountains. I love the splash of water, and that's just a very peaceful, therapeutic sound for me. There's a lot of ways that you could bring that into your healing space. A lot of times when I meditate for healing, I bring my cell phone in, I turn the ringer off so that I'm not disturbed, but I have quite a few different playlists of music that is particularly healing. And I really like to do chanting in my healing garden. So I'll do the Om, and sometimes I'll have like an accompanying um, a video where they're chanting the Om, and then other times I just use my own voice. I feel like sound is a super underrated quality for healing. And when we can run sound through our system, I feel like we're an instrument of the divine. And when we can bring in like beautiful quality chants or mantras or songs or even toning, that bringing that pure sound, even if it's not pure, even if we're doing our chanting and we sound terrible, we sound off key, it doesn't matter, because you're bringing those sound qualities into your system, and it's helping to rejuvenate, to restore, to help you maybe purify and process whatever it is that has you out of balance. So use sound in your healing garden. And I think the sound that you make yourself is just super important. It might be through drumming or through playing a musical instrument of sort, but or singing. Singing's very powerful, but be sure and somehow weave in sound into your healing garden. Another quality or element that you can bring into your healing garden is sacred geometry. I think you can bring that in different ways, maybe through visual art. So I have a symbol of the Om here. I have one of these that's much larger, and you can hang stuff like this in your healing space, in your meditation garden, or you can bring sacred geometry in through your plants. So you see a lot of plants or of garden spaces, especially in Europe, where they just plant gardens that are just super elaborate, and but they activate cellular memory, and that is a really powerful thing when we can access higher cellular memory that has some insight into our healing curve and what we need to do to get where we want to go. That brings up another thing of having clear intention for your healing garden. Always have clarity of the purpose of the space, and you can verbalize that out loud. Like, once you pull your space together, I intend this garden space to serve me as a healing meditation garden. And just by making that declaration out to the universe using the spoken word, it helps to kind of seal the deal. Another way you can bring sacred geometry into your garden space is one of the garden spaces that I have is called a labyrinth. A labyrinth is a very ancient use of sacred geometry in walking into a garden space. You walk in with your questions, maybe why am I experiencing this ill health at this time, or what is the lesson that I need to learn from this disease, or what can I learn from it. You walk into the labyrinth with your prayer, and you might bring in some incense and set your incense in the center of the labyrinth, and then you walk out of your labyrinth and you just open yourself up to receiving the messages from your higher self or from whoever it is that you might like to work with, like Mother Mary or a master avatar like Jesus or what the Buddha, whatever you feel really drawn to. But your higher self always knows your soul lessons and your mission here on this lifetime. So when you specifically create the intention to receive messages and guidance from your higher self, you have to clear your mind and give yourself the time to receive. Like when you're talking to someone, it's like you talk a little and then you listen a little bit, and then you talk and then you listen, ideally. And that's the same way you work with your higher self. You may go into your prayer healing garden space with, here's what my concerns are. This is what I'm worried about. This is what my fears are. And then you make sure to give yourself time to receive the downloads from your higher self to help you make some little adjustments in your lifestyle, in your belief system maybe, or just the way you're living, even in some of your relationships. Your higher self will give you a little nudge here and there. It's up to you to take action on that advice and start to do some of those things in a different way. We can't get different results unless we make adjustments and adjust our thoughts, adjust our actions. Somehow or another, we have to make some changes in order to get some positive changes. You also want to bring into your healing garden, I feel like, a place to sit, or in either like a chair or a bench or some cushions. I also have used my yoga mats to lay down. I like to do a meditation laying down at night in my healing garden where I can stargaze, because I feel like the stars can stream in sometimes, just little insight about my role here in this dimension. So there's all types of healing gardens, and one thing that you might want to realize is that your garden, your healing garden, will change over time as your healing curve changes. So like if you start to kind of get back onto the road to recovery on any level, you may be just guided to bring in some different things into your garden space, whether it is another color or designing it a little bit differently, bringing in different types of musical instruments. You want to follow your own heart and your own inner gnosis about what feels right, like what feels like something that I want to add into this space right now. So always honor your own inner gnosis and keep your healing garden really tidy and nice and fresh. And that the reason for that is that if you get it, if you let it kind of get out of control, when you go into your space, your unconscious mind is going to be kind of like bogged down by the things that are undone or unkept, like maybe some trash or some weeds got into your space, or something got toppled over. Your unconscious mind is always aware of what is in your surroundings. Whether your ego personality is able to blow it off or not, your unconscious mind is paying attention, and it is it's not settled, and it's not going to get you the result that you want. So be mindful to always be energizing and keeping the template energy of your healing garden, keeping it really fresh and activated and energized and just clear. So you can do that in different ways. I like to always bring in like incense or sage. Lavender spray is a great way to activate and freshen up the quality of the energy in your room or in your healing garden space. If you can't do a healing garden outside, you can create a healing garden inside using houseplants and all of the other elements that we talked about, and just using your imagination to put yourself into nature and just create the visual imagery, kind of supported by your house plants. That's pretty easy to do. And frankly, there's a lot of people's houses that they have a lot of house plants that they can easily imagine themselves outside in nature. And that can be very therapeutic and just as supportive as a garden space that's outside. I have like 3 garden spaces that are for healing in on my ranch. I have a lot of land, so I have a really big labyrinth out in my front yard. And originally, I mean, I created this like over 20 years ago, but a lot of people have walked this labyrinth and just benefited from the special prayers that were installed. Like every single stepping stone in my garden labyrinth has a prayer that was woven and prayed into that stone and then placed in that stone with the intention that anyone who steps on that stone, that they activate that prayer on their behalf. And all of the prayers are supporting us on different levels, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and kind of geared towards helping us to um, activate and embody our soul's highest mission. I have 2 water gardens in my backyard that are healing gardens as well. So I just have a lot of space, and I have different purposes, different healing aspects that I use them for. Some of them are just for meditation. Sometimes we need a garden space that we can go to just relax our mind and just kind of pull together and digest the recent experiences that we've been going through, any traumas, any dramas, whether it's personal or whether it's something in the community or on a global scale. We all need a way to process our pain and to digest our experiences so that they don't dwell in our system and create imbalances, create our organs to suffer, to fail on us. So making sure that you have the time set aside to properly heal and digest any drama or trauma or pain or anything that is that you haven't been able to figure out. It may take a while before we can get some peace with it, but our healing garden helps us to do exactly that, to get peace. So just remember the 6 healing color frequencies. Those are going to be violet, lilac, white, ivory, citrus green, and emerald green. Those are the 6 most powerful colors for you to weave into your garden space. You can bring in other colors, but just make sure you have those 6. And you could also use those as maybe something that you wear into your healing garden. that just kind of sets the tone. I think that's a super powerful way to do that, to always, like when you go into your healing garden, have maybe like a prayer shawl that is one of the healing colors, or a like a robe or a blanket or a piece of jewelry. That is also a way to bring in the colors and make sure that you have the opportunity to expose yourself to all of those color frequencies, hopefully in a very balanced way. So I hope you've enjoyed this mini presentation today on a healing garden. And if you have any questions, just drop a comment below and let me know. Thanks a lot. I'm Ravina. Bye bye.